Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
Not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Logged It, episode number 7. We are live on Twitch. Oh, Lord, what is this world coming to? We are live. I'm excited. This is going to be a fun show. This is a topic I've been wanting to do for a minute, so I'm looking forward to this. On the panel, we have Mr. Boatman. Boatman, how are you?
I'm good. I'm always here, except when I'm not.
Except for when you're not. That's true. Returning from episode number 1, Mr. Brian Michaels. Brian, how are you this evening?
I'm happy to be back for the first time since the pilot episode. I know some changes have been made since then, but here I am again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Spence, you're back. I think this is your 3rd time on the program.
Yeah.
How are you this evening?
I am all right. I feel very underprepared today.
Underprepared? Why are you underprepared?
There's just a couple movies I know that I haven't seen and dislike, so it'll be interesting to get later into the night. That's fair.
That's very fair. So we're live, like I said, on Twitch. This will be replayed over on the YouTube channel starting Wednesday. So you can find this over there then. But stick around with us live here tonight. We're going to talk everything. It's going to be a great time. Okay, so let's start off with the first topic that we start every show with. Very simple topic. Favorite movie we logged this week. So we're going to get started with Mr. Boatman. Boatman, what is your favorite movie that you logged this week?
In terms of actually logging things, I was able to catch up and actually log some things I watched from last week. So we'll have some things to talk about for the worst parts from the show. But in terms of favorite movie I logged this week, I would say that honor would go to Crooklyn, which is a Spike Lee film that is really well done. It's basically Spike Lee's like most autobiographical movie. It kind of centers around just slice of life of this family in the 70s. And it's really neat seeing Spike Lee doing something a little more relaxed. I think this is one of his best films. Delroy Lindo and Alfre Woodard play the parents, and they are both fantastic. And it's kind of like, what if you took Do the Right Thing, like the first 2/3 of Do the Right Thing, where it's literally just a day in the life of this neighborhood, but stretch it out to the whole summer. That's kind of what it feels like.
Okay, I've never seen this. Like you brought up a Spike Lee movie last week, I believe.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of Spike Lee, so this is one that I haven't seen. But again, a lot of them sound very interesting to me. This one also sounds interesting, so I'll check it out eventually when I get to Spike Lee. But I just haven't gotten to that filmography yet. So, Brian, have you seen this?
We keep this excitement going. I have also not yet seen Crooklyn. I've seen probably about half of Spike Lee's movies. That's one of the ones I have not.
All right. Spence, what about you?
I talked to Bowen about this a couple nights ago. I have seen exactly 3 Spike Lee films, and they're the 3 that you would expect. So I am not good on this topic.
That is fair. Okay, well, easy peasy. Let's move over to Brian for your favorite movie you logged this week.
My favorite movie I logged in is probably one that no one here has seen. I don't even know if you've heard of it. It's a movie from 2014 called Stretch. This is a movie directed by Joe Carnahan, who you might know from Smoking Aces, The Gray, The A-Team. He just did Boss Level recently. Basically stars Patrick Wilson as like this. He's a limo driver having just the shittiest day of his life. He's got gambling debts. He's getting involved in the LA underbelly. He's got FBI raids. Things happen. He's got his ex-girlfriend he runs into at her bachelor party at a bar. And but basically, it's kind of a dark comedy, but it's also an action movie. But just really well done. Patrick Wilson, I think, is one of those guys who doesn't get starring roles enough. He's in supporting roles a lot, but this is one where he really shines in this one. Chris Pine is in a hilarious performance, probably my favorite performance of his whole career, because he just is having a blast in this thing. Like, if you've seen Smoking Aces, you see how he likes to cut loose in these Joe Carnahan movies. James Badge Dale is in it. Jessica Alba's in it. Ed Helms is in it. But it's one of those movies that's just it's just a ton of fun. If you track it down yourself, you'll really enjoy it. But just one of those movies that not anybody has actually heard of, because I don't think it got a theatrical release.
I have heard of this one, but I've not seen it. I love Patrick Wilson. I don't give a shit what anyone says.
You will love this movie then.
Then I'll probably love it. Based on everything you said, it sounds like I'll love it. Me and Maggie, big P. Wills fans. I very much enjoy him. So I will definitely check this out, because it sounds like a really good cast, fun concept. I remember seeing the poster maybe on Netflix or on something, or just looking through his IMDb maybe. So I've definitely heard of it, but like I said, haven't seen it. Have either of you two seen it?
I have not seen it, but I'll talk a little bit on our next segment, I guess, about the watch list thing.
Okay, that's fair.
I've heard of it, have not seen it.
All right. Adelaide, let's go to you. Your favorite movie you logged this week?
I'm going to cheat a little bit because I haven't been very active this week. Something I watched last week for a show I'm prepping for is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which was one of my favorite like one of the favorite things I ever read in high school. I just chose it, like, I feel like I like it. Has a bunch of like interesting things about it, and I was blown away. And I finally said, it's time to really sit down and watch this, and I was once again blown away. Just Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton are two actors who I wanted to like see more of their filmography. I feel like there's a lot there that I am missing in terms of classic anything, and they are both incredible. Even but when you comment, I think you remember their names better than I would.
Sandy Dennis and George Segal.
Yes, they're both incredible, and I wouldn't think of that because like when I was reading in high school, they were very much as like these, like they were the plain inserts as my classmates called them, and then just seeing how well realized they were was just fascinating. And I hate that it took me this long, but I'm also just really happy that I finally saw it.
All right. I also haven't seen this. Classics are not my forte. I want to get more into them, but I just haven't yet. But it's something that I want to. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Boatman, you talked a little bit. You've seen this.
I love this movie. It's fantastic. If you're a fan of The Office, one of the greatest Office episodes ever made is the dinner party episode, which is an homage to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Okay.
That, like, imagine that episode played straight. That's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Like, played not for laughs. That is just this nightmarish dinner party that never ends. And it's so well made. Burton and Taylor are both just at their yelling violent peaks, and they were a relationship in real life. So and from everything that we now know about that relationship, I'm guessing a lot of the anger was real. But I actually also really appreciate both Sandy Dennis and George Segal's performances, because they work off the main two so well, because you need both kind of the corruption of those characters, but also the audience relatability of we are stuck here just like they are.
All right. Brian, have you seen this?
I have not. This is one of those that's kind of hovered around my watch list before. It's like, because I like Mike Nichols especially, but Liz Taylor is just, I've never been a big fan of hers, so she kind of keeps me from watching this. Maybe one of these times I'll break down, but not yet.
All right. I will go next. We've talked about it on the show like a lot, honestly. But I got to be honest, I watched a lot of crappy movies this week, and this was by far the best one. It's really great. You know what? Actually, no, I'm going to change. I was going to say Goodfellas, but we've talked about it enough. There is actually one other one that I watched this week that I really like. I watched License to Kill. I had to deep cut it. I think Timothy Dalton is so underrated as James Bond. Both The Living Daylights and License to Kill, I think, are top 5 Bond movies. And License to Kill, I think I like The Living Daylights maybe just a smidgen more. I kind of go back and forth, but the movie's a lot of fun. You got a crazy drug lord villain. You got Benicio del Toro in an early role of his. You've got some great Bond girls as well. Some really funny stuff with Q. Bond just being an absolute badass, having to like go. This was one of the times that, of course, he went rogue, which happens all the time. But there's some actual, like, you feel the stakes a little bit because, like, spoiler alert, it's a very old movie. So, but Felix Leiter gets married, and then right away his wife gets killed, and Felix gets like thrown into a shark tank, and Bond is like going out for revenge on them. So it's actually like really compelling in the setup. Like they do a good job of like making you feel for Felix and his wife and everything. So I actually really like this Bond movie. And after getting through all of the like just crap of Roger Moore, getting to the 2 Timothy Dalton movies is really fun. But License to Kill is a lot of fun. I wish that Timothy Dalton had done a couple more because I really like him as James Bond. So Boatman, License to Kill.
Yeah, I think Dalton is my favorite Bond.
Oh.
I think in terms of just Bond performances, I think he is like the best Bond. I'm not in love with The Living Daylights. I think he's great. I think that movie is meh. To me, this is like his Bond movie. This one, I think the Miami feel really kind of differentiates itself from the other Bond films. The Dalton films, especially when compared to the Moores, have this slightly grittier 80s edge to them that I really like. Not like full-on grit like the Craig ones, but just a little bit more edge to them, and I like that.
All right. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I've seen this, and I actually like this one. Timothy Dalton, I think, gets a bad rep as James Bond. I think partially because he only did like 2 films, but also I know that at the time, they were trying to get Pierce Brosnan, but he couldn't do it, so everyone saw Timothy Dalton as like the second choice until a couple of years later when Brosnan was available. But I mean, I really like Timothy Dalton. I think he's actually one of the better Bonds. I also think that coming from the Roger Moore ones, which had gotten to like the cheesiest the franchise had ever been, taking that turn into the grittier version like Boatman was talking about with Timothy Dalton, I think that was a little jarring for people. But looking back on him now, I actually think his films are some of my favorites.
All right. Spence, what about you?
If there's one thing in this world that I love, it's Jimmy Bond. Namely that I've seen none of the movies.
You've never seen any of them?
I have seen 2. One was 3. Casino Royale and Skyfall with Koho. And then I watched Goldfinger for a debate, and that's aggressively fine. And that's it.
Goldfinger is great. Boatman, we are going to move on to the next topic. We are chugging right along. This is what I like to see. Your least favorite movie you logged this week?
This is tough because I both logged and watched a lot of bad movies last week. I am going to go with a film from the cinematic equivalent of shooting yourself in the head, watching a film starring Madonna. Okay. And I am going with what is easily her worst performance, which is a bad thing because she doesn't have very many good performances. I'm going with Who's That Girl? Now, if you know anything about like just the basic Who's That Girl is trying to be, you might be thinking, Boatman, this kind of seems like a movie you would like. It's a throwback to 1930s screwball comedies like Bringing Up Baby with like the edge of the 1980s. Why would you not love that? You're Boatman. You like mixing of like different eras. Yeah, only problem is that Madonna is doing a horribly annoying accent the whole movie, and the comedy sucks. The little problem there. Like, I think Madonna might be giving the worst performance I've ever seen from anyone in a starring role. She is that bad in this movie. She is trying so hard to be loud and obnoxious and funny, like doing this New York accent. You know, like imagine if Harley Quinn smoked like 100 Marlboros. That's what it sounds like.
Jesus.
Who's That Girl was a nightmare to sit through. I do not recommend it. There were like 1 or 2 moments I laughed. That's why it didn't get the half star, but it got the 1 star from me. It's terrible.
All right. I haven't seen this, so I don't plan to, because Madonna is not an actress that I seek out to watch in my life. Spence, have you seen this?
So what you're telling me, Boatman, is this isn't the inspiration for the title, like the opening song for New Girl?
No.
Who's that girl? It's Madonna.
No.
Brian, have you seen this?
I did actually just watch this for the first time, I think last year. I tracked down a couple of early Madonna films. I watched Desperately Seeking Susan, which actually turned out to be halfway decent. You know, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll keep the ball rolling, check out another one. Next up was Who's That Girl? That movie sucked ass. I mean, everything Boat said, I pretty much am just going to echo, but it starts and ends with Madonna and her horrible accent and her horrible performance. I'm just like, it's one of those movies where like she's kind of doing her thing and everyone around her is just like, how are we supposed to work with this? Because I mean, you have people like Griffin Dunn and them in there who normally, you know, can put in a good performance in some movies. And I mean, you got the director of Glengarry Glen Ross. Of course, he's also the director of 2 of the 50 Shades movies, so you know, don't give him too much credit. But it's like, what are you going to do with Madonna when she's that bad? So, and I honestly think that she can be a good actress in the right role. You know, League of Her Own, she was perfectly cast for. I actually think Evita is decent. That's just me, but this one not so much.
She is decent in it. I will give you that.
Let me rephrase that. Yeah.
We have 2 video store shills in the chat, apparently about to throw hands. We have the video store shill, who I believe has been revealed at this point as Nicholas Twohig, and then apparently we have the real video store shill. Is
that dick too big? Has he broken through?
Yeah, maybe. Nick is on 2 devices. So we'll see if this mystery reveals itself. Okay, Brian, you get to go next. Your least favorite movie you logged this week.
My least favorite logged movie is actually from just over a week ago. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Netflix has this thing where all year they were going to pump out 1 or 2 new movies every single week. And one of the ones that kind of came out under the radar for a lot of people, but unfortunately not for me, was Liam Neeson in The Ice Road. Okay. This movie is basically trying to be a dramatic or even action-packed version of like Ice Road Truckers. But it's Liam Neeson. And, you know, he had a career resurgence and, you know, he's, you know, went from being like kind of the father figure to doing like this action thing after Taken. But in the years since then, his year has been steadily declining and his whole career is just, you know, the movies are getting worse and worse and more forgettable. This is when he hit the bottom. I mean, this is a movie that I think I said in my review that if only there was a monster in it chasing him, it's totally a Sci-Fi Channel original. I mean, the effects are that bad, but also the direction is that bad, the editing, the acting, the writing, everything about this just seems like it would be starring, you know, all the same kind of people like Casper Van Dien, these people that don't actually have like, you know, theatrical film careers anymore. But no, Liam Neeson apparently said, I'll cash the paycheck, and so he's here. But yeah, it's just a bad movie. And honestly, I had trouble getting through the end, the last half of it. There was a couple times I'm like, I'm going to skip 10 minutes because it was just really not good. So of all the Netflix originals, feel free to skip this one.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of this until I saw you log it. It's funny. I like Liam Neeson. Like, I like his kind of like little resurgence here while he's still mixing in other stuff. Like, I thought the first Taken was good. The second 2, not a big fan. I actually liked Run All Night. I thought that was pretty good. And then
a lot of his subsequent movies are, you know, they're not great, but they're watchable. They're fine.
They're watchable. But I really didn't like the other Ice one, Cold Pursuit. Yeah. I did not enjoy that one at all. And then, but surprisingly, he's put out 3 in the last like 6 months or so. I actually really liked Honest Thief, which came out at the end of last year, like September, October. I dug it. Anthony Ramos has a good supporting performance. Jai Courtney is decent in the movie. Like I thought that one was all right. And then he had the Marksman.
Boatman loves that movie.
That sounds like a movie he'd enjoy. And then the Marksman came out earlier this year, and again, like Brian said, it's not great, but it's watchable. So to hear that this one is just like that bad, like you want to like skip through parts of it, yeah, I'm probably not gonna see this one. So have either of you two seen it, Boatman?
Nope.
No, but with the way my dad loves Liam Neeson, I probably will eventually. Not willingly, but it'll be on, and I won't feel.
Just go watching it with like a Mystery Science Theater mindset. You might enjoy it more. Just mocking it.
That's fair.
I want to see Richard Boatman compete in a Warzone and use Neeson as a strength and just put you through all of the pain of writing that. Oh,
he had said that if he ever, for whatever reason, played Warzone, he would be using 70s John Wayne movies as a strength, and that is a strength that people would probably die in.
The other one I was going to bring up with Liam Neeson was Walk Among the Tombstones. I really liked that one. Spence, you haven't seen this ICE thing?
No.
Okay, figured. All right. Spence, so your worst movie or least favorite? I keep saying worst.
Yeah.
Least favorite.
No, it's the worst. So that's something I think you guys all know. I run this league called Ontel, and we have this thing called Deep Cuts. There are days that I regret ever making the decision of starting my own shit. And that happened this week because, Anthony loves this movie called Surf Ninjas. It's about these two kids who happen to be descendants of like this very vague like Asian country state thing who also happen to be ninjas. And then they have like ninja superpowers descended through them. But one of them is controlled by a Sega Game Gear, and that's where his power derives from. And then it doesn't matter. And then Liam Neeson plays someone called like General Chi, I think.
Liam Neeson again?
I'm sorry, no. Leslie Nielsen. Nielsen.
I was like, wait, Liam Neeson's not in that.
Leslie Nielsen plays General Chi with like a half robot mask and a weird hand that is fucked up by this. Nothing matters. Nothing in this movie makes sense. What's the fucking carrot dude? Rob Schneider's in this for no goddamn reason.
What is this called?
Surf Ninjas.
Surf Ninjas. And it's the part of a series where they're there and they're ninjas, but not really. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I was 10 minutes into this. I mentioned to Anthony, hey, this is a half star. Nothing's gonna change it. Did not laugh once. Never had a good time. I just actively regretted every decision I made up until my life during the hour and a half watching that piece of shit. That's free on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Yeah, this comes from the director of Bachelor Party, Moving Violations, Hounded, The Poof Point, whatever the fuck that is.
That's a Disney Channel movie that I have seen.
National Lampoon's Holiday Reunion. So the Brady Bunch in the White House.
He's also an actor who appears in all of his movies. So if you want to use a strength, there's two right there.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen this. Don't plan to.
Okay, so I have a question. Is this movie in any way connected to Three Ninjas, or are they two totally different?
I think they're connected. There's also Beverly Hills Ninja, and then there's a fourth one that I'm forgetting about.
Brian, you were alive in the 90s.
I'm not aware there's any connection whatsoever to the Three Ninjas series. There's like three Ninjas movies, but I don't think this one is connected to it. I think it was trying to cash in on the same trend of these kid-directed ninja movies.
It's like how in the 2000s there were like 5 movies about kids becoming spies.
Right, or the late 80s body swapping trend, that kind of thing. So I don't think they're actually connected anyway. I actually not seen this movie. This is one that by the time this came out, I wasn't into the kids movies anymore, but I never did go back and check it out for nostalgic reasons either, because I've heard nothing good about it. I have to give it a little bit of respect because Ernie Reyes Jr. is like the main guy in it, and I like him. But yeah, it's everything I've seen about it. Like, you just watch the trailer, you'll see it's not good from what I know.
All right. So we'll move on. I watched a lot of garbage this week to study for things. I'm trying to decide between two. I'm gonna. So I'm trying to pick a Friday the 13th movie. I'm between 5 and 9. I think I'm gonna go with 9, aka Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday.
That's the correct choice.
I would like to remind you guys that this is the final Friday, but also we had the final chapter earlier, and there is a 10th movie after the final Friday. So just want to make sure everybody remembers that. Yeah, this movie sucks. We talked about it on Your List Sucks last week on worst fandom movies, but it was on a couple of people's lists last week. But yeah, the movie just like I was talking to Nick about this. It was the first Friday the 13th movie released by New Line after they bought the property from Paramount, and you can like tell, like, granted, a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, like, you either love them or you hate them, but they have a feel and a style to them that they all kind of feel part of the same series, and this one just does not at all. They tried to make a Nightmare on Elm Street movie with Friday the 13th. Jason isn't even Jason for most of the movies, like a spirit that jumps into other people's bodies, sometimes in very grotesque and weird and gross ways. Overall, not a big fan of this movie. This is one of the worst horror icons movies to me, and by far probably, yeah, it's tough because I really hate 5, but this is crap. Anybody else who's seen this?
It's been a long time since I've watched that one, and there's a reason, because it's like you said, it's a movie that has like nothing to do with like anything else in the series. Also there's makeup shit, like the whole thing where you're switching bodies and things like that, and it's like it was in name only. I think the whole movie was made just to set up that credit scene where they could try and tease the Freddy thing. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
Take out Friday the 13th and put in Scream for horror icons.
No, because 12 movies versus 4.
I don't care.
I care.
It could be 5.
Like, this is just one of those films that like I hope I never have to study, because like it gives me just a very inner feeling of just absolute disgust seeing what they do with the body swap thing, to the point like I never want to watch it, but it's in fandom. I hate that it exists. Like body swap, like he possessed them with his fucking heart for some reason. It's weird and it's dumb and I don't like it.
All right. So for the sake of time and everyone's life, we're gonna skip the watch list portion. And sorry, Boatman. And we are going to
Stretch was the movie I added to my watch list.
we already talked about it. So we're gonna move on to the main part of the show. We're going to make our top 10 list of female-led action movies. I'm going to start with my first pick, and I'm going to do the thing that Cody doesn't like with this, but I'm picking Kill Bill Volume 1. I'm not doing the whole bloody affair. I'm not doing Volume 2. I'm doing Volume 1. I don't like Volume 2 all that much. So... yeah, like that's where I'm at. I think Volume 1 slaps, but I'm just not a big fan of Volume 2. Granted, I've seen Volume 1 like 4 or 5 times. I've only seen Volume 2 one time. So I might just need to give it another chance, but didn't love it when I saw it the first time. So that's where I'm at. I like the action a lot. I think the scene that everyone talks about towards the end, I don't know what is it actually called that everyone calls it. It's like the bride versus what are they called? Yes. It's incredible. It's so cool. It's such a great scene. The action's amazing, but I just like the story from beginning to end. I think the movie's a lot of fun. I think Uma Thurman is great in the movie. To me, this is top like 3 Tarantino. I love Volume 1. So excuse me. So everybody else on Kill Bill Volume 1.
Here's the thing. I think that Kill Bill Volume 2 is the better movie. I prefer Kill Bill Volume 2. But if we're talking action movies, Kill Bill Volume 1 is the better action movie. I think the action sequences in this, from like the Crazy 88 fight to the final fight with Lucy Liu, to the fantastic confrontation with Vivica A. Fox for Nina Green. I think all three of those are just better action scenes than what we get from Volume 2, which Volume 2 is more focused on the character and world building, which I like more, but I think in terms of pure action, Volume 1 is the better movie.
I agree with you. I think Volume 1 is definitely better, but I also think they're the most like they're the Tarantino movies that I remember the least. It's sort of just one ear in one ear out the other, and like I think all the action, like the action with the other Vipers, I guess, like is good. I just don't really remember anything else about it. I knew writing it down and be like, this is gonna be like my hard point for the show. I won't give a shit about these, and lo and behold, they show up.
Yeah, Kill Bill for me is kind of lower tier Tarantino, which is not to say they're horrible movies. It's because, I mean, his movies are all good to some extent, but just they're not anywhere near my favorites of his. I think part of that was the fact because they broke it into two movies. Not that I wanted one long movie. I think the whole story could have been told in one normal length movie. But the action scenes are pretty cool. So I mean, as an action hero in the context of this show, definitely works. Just not my favorite Tarantino's by a mile.
All right. Boatman, your first pick.
My first pick, I'm going with a recent comic book film. And this is a movie that a lot of people didn't like. And I get why a lot of people didn't like this. But I had a really fun time with it. I'm going Birds of Prey. I think Birds of Prey was, for me, just a movie I really enjoyed. I loved all the interweaving dynamics of everyone just kind of trying to get Cassandra Cain. I think a lot of elements kind of made it feel like a late 90s crime movie mixed with like a superhero action movie. And I really like that. It like felt like a little bit like if you mixed like a superhero movie with like Snatch or like early Guy Ritchie, or I just really enjoyed Birds of Prey. I had a really fun time with it. I really like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I think she's very fun. But for me, the person who steals this movie is Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress. I think she is the best part of this movie by far. I just love kind of the ways it goes, and I love the final action sequence in the movie trap. I think that's a lot of fun. I get it. People don't like this movie. I think this movie is a lot of fun.
I like this movie quite a bit. It's not my favorite World's DC movie, but it's up there. I think it's a good time. It's kind of gone down for me on rewatch, but again, part of that is in 2020 alone. I watched it like 5 or 6 times, so it's just one of those things where it might just be a little overload for me. But I do love the way Ewan McGregor says the booby trap. I do like that a lot. I think Ewan McGregor's great in the movie as the villain. It's a little heavy-handed at times. Like there are points where I'm like, okay, movie, like we get what you're saying. Like it's all good. Like you don't need to beat us over the head with it. But I think it's a really good time. I think all of the actresses in the titular Birds of Prey are a lot of fun. I agree. I think that ending fight is a good time. Yeah, I think this is a good movie. Yeah, I like it. So, you guys.
I really like this. Was on my short list of ones I was considering bringing up. I kind of figured somebody might bring it up, and I'm glad Bowman did because this is one I would definitely put on there. I mean, Margot Robbie, I think, makes a perfect Harley Quinn. I mean, I also love the one on the animated Harley Quinn show, but Margot Robbie does a perfect job of it here. My only complaint about the movie is that they severely underuse Mary Elizabeth Winstead because she is the best part of most movies she's in, and I think she would have been just as great here, but she doesn't have a whole lot to do. I mean, she gets a little bit of something, but maybe if they make another one or something, you'll see more of her. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. Got a great cast put together from the main Birds of Prey, even Rosie Perez, who I like seeing her back on screen. She was a lot of fun. The action I think is well done. I think like Suicide Squad, they jammed a little bit too much music in there, but these are just nitpicks. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a ton of fun, and actually most people, when I considered bringing it up, I looked at my Letterboxd, and because I thought the same thing. I thought that a lot of people didn't like this movie, and I look at least for my friends list, the vast majority of them have it like 4 stars with like 3.5 and 4.5 after that. So I guess people do like it, or else they came around on it. I don't know.
I think it's a loud group of
there you go.
Vocal minority.
Vocal minority, yeah.
Yeah.
And they suck. This movie fucks. It's awesome.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. I was pointing to Cody's comment.
I will keep using the term. This is a great fucking movie. I love watching. I've been meaning to rewatch it for like a DCEU binge. I think all the actresses are fantastic. Yes, Ewan McGregor, but I'm forgetting the guy who plays Victor Zsasz. I think a lot of smaller
Maggie, who plays Victor Zsasz. She likes that actor a lot.
I forget his name, but
what show was he on that you loved?
He was on Newsroom. He's also a Mini Project.
Yeah.
I think that that's right. Yes. I think it's little performances like that, as well as like Ali Wong as the ex-girlfriend of just like, there's a lot of small characters which just work so well. It's like a really well realized world, even to the point like that first opening bit that's animated looks amazing, and I love all the supporting. I think it's just a really smartly made, very densely, just really smart movie, and I can't wait to rewatch it.
It also benefits a lot from being the shortest of the DCEU. Like even a movie like Shazam that I like a lot, it's just too long. They're all 220 plus, and this movie's an hour 43 or something like that. It's very quick, and I think that helps because it is a lot being thrown at you, and I think it helps that it's a bit shorter. It helps you digest the movie a little bit more. So okay, Brian, we move on to you for your first pick.
I think for my first one, I'm going to go with 2017 film Atomic Blonde. Now, this is a movie that, again, I think has gotten very mixed reviews from people. I think skews generally slightly positive. I think a lot of that is because it does get very stylistic, and especially towards the end, it gets a little over the top with, who's working for who, and it's all double crossing, things like that, triple agents, whatever it is. But as far as a female-led action movie, the action in this movie is phenomenal. I mean, this is a movie, it's made by the same people behind the John Wick movies. It's directed by one of them, David Leitch, who also did Deadpool 2 and Hobbs and Shaw, I think. Yep. But the guy knows how to really do action fight scenes. And Charlize Theron in her fight scenes just clearly put in the work because she is doing such a phenomenal job. And it's not like this superwoman who's just going through 100 people. It's like it's kind of it's very dirty kind of fighting. It's you can kind of feel that she's actually taking on damage with every fight she's in. And that's one of the things I love about this movie. Kind of the fight scenes seem a little bit more real instead of just like some superhuman person going through the bad guys. I like the 80s vibe of it. It's got, kind of a neo techno kind of thing to it with the 80s theme. James McAvoy has a lot of fun in his supporting role, as well as John Goodman, but especially Sofia Boutella, who I love seeing her in almost anything she does. She kind of has disappeared in the last couple of years, but I hope she has lots more coming up because she's a lot of fun. And there's scenes with her and Charlize Theron which alone make the movie worth watching. So, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing this in the theater. Me and Maggie got to go to an early screening of this and saw it like a week or two early. And I remember thinking that I enjoyed the movie, but I honestly don't really remember anything about it. I remember at the end there was like the triple eight, like all that stuff. And I remember the big hallway fight, like down the staircase or whatever, being really cool. And thinking that her and, like you said, Sofia Boutella and James McAvoy were all very good. I just remember thinking, I don't ever need to see this again in my life. That being said, I would like to revisit it just to see if I would maybe like it more. But I do remember the fighting being a little more grungy, where John Wick is very precision, he doesn't miss. This was a lot more like this year's Nobody, which was from one of the writers of John Wick. The action just feels a lot more like they're not a superhero. They're good at fighting, but they also get the shit beaten out of them. And honestly, like you said, Charlize Theron is perfect, and I would watch her in anything. So yeah, she can kind of do it all between this and her dramatic stuff, and then something like Long Shot. She's great in everything. So Boatman, have you seen this?
I have not. I kind of heard it was not great, or at the very least, not my kind of great. But honestly, Brian kind of sold it for me a little bit, so I kind of want to watch it now.
And Spence, what about you?
I unfortunately have not seen it. I've been meaning to. I probably will pretty soon, but not yet.
Okay. We are on to Spence for your first pick.
I didn't realize I'd be the first old person here, but here we are. I am picking. I can't even call this a classic because it's not that old yet, but it's definitely like one of the big. Like when you pick the topic, this is what you think of first. I'm going T2 Judgment Day. Feel like it's inevitable. It's one of the best action films ever made. I'm not huge on James Cameron. I think he's very hit or miss, but this is a movie that sort of sells me on. If he's making movies, like I could, or like if he's producing even, it's like oh yeah, I can expect some level of quality. Fuck you, Bar. I think this movie is really smart in taking actors with a very limited range and making them seem better than they actually are. Namely, Schwarzenegger and Edward Furlong, who on their own aren't amazing actors, but he creates just super interesting and very realized characters in those two. As well as I think has one of my favorite action scenes of all time in the LA Reservoir, having Robert Patrick chasing Edward Furlong with the giant fucking truck and Schwarzenegger coming up on the motorcycle, where it gives LA a very the city is its own character, while also fully utilizing everything around it. It's just really smart and really well done.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. This movie's awesome. I think I go back and forth a lot. I really like the first Terminator because I like the more horror-esque style to the sci-fi genre that Cameron brings to the first one. But there's no denying how great T2 is. I got to see this in the theater when they did the re-release in 3D a few years ago, and I loved it. Thought it was great. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Michael. I deleted his comment because he said, "Hey, Mike." So anyway, yeah, no, I thought the movie's amazing. I own the 4K Blu-ray now, and the 4K is incredible. The movie looks fantastic. The action holds up so much, and the visual effects, it's amazing because this was 91.
Mm-hmm. It's just Photoshop. That's all it is.
The fact that it still looks this good is insane. So yeah, the movie's great. Boatman, what do you got to say?
Yeah, the one thing that brings this movie down for me is I really don't like Edward Furlong's performance. Everything else is fantastic. I think this is legitimately one of the greatest action movies ever made. Yeah, there's no arguing. I kind of had this one a little bit lower on my list, partially because Edward Furlong and partially because I wanted to get more movies that I feel weren't a dual, a guy lead and a female lead. I wanted where the main lead was the female lead, but I don't begrudge this being on the list because it's clearly a fantastic movie.
Yeah, to me, this is not only one of the best action movies of all time, it's one of those movies of all time. It just did the YLS Top 100, and I want to say it was in my, it was definitely in top 20. I think it was in teens somewhere, early teens somewhere. But yeah, this is a great film. And what I really love about this movie is, when they made a sequel to Terminator, they very well could have done like every other sequel, especially in the 80s and 90s. It was just let's basically just redo the same thing again. But they didn't. They completely turned it on its head. And not only just with making the Terminator a good guy, but with the transformation that Sarah Connor underwent. And that character had such a great, believable arc where she went from this demure little, woman who was being chased to this hardcore soldier because she knows what's coming and she has to prepare herself and her son and try and stop, protect everybody and stop this thing from happening. And I thought that was such a great thing from a writing standpoint. I thought it was so well done. And then you add in the actual action sequences, which, as they both already talked about, were phenomenal, especially the effects for that day. I mean, this is pre-Jurassic Park. It's the only thing, The Abyss had come out, which kind of started working with computer-generated things, but this was kind of that middle step that led to Jurassic Park and then everything we've had since then in CGI effects.
All right. We will move on to my second pick. I'm kind of struck, because because I'm kind of thinking the same way of Boatman. There's one that I do. I want the movie that I think everybody has seen that's a classic, or one that I think more people should see. So you guys tell me.
Pick the other one because your first pick was like a big movie. Make your second pick.
Okay, so the one that I'm gonna pick that I saw for the first time a couple years ago, I think it was in 2019 is the first time I saw it. Is I believe it's Joe Wright's directed Hannah. Has anybody seen this?
I haven't in quite a while.
Weirdly enough, I've seen the show, not the movie.
So this is Saoirse Ronan, Eric Bana, directed by Joe Wright. Like I said, I really like Saoirse Ronan. Like, I haven't seen all of her work, but most of the stuff is very drama heavy, and she's always great in those roles. But I thought she was really cool in this movie. I liked the action. I really liked Eric Bana as the father. I think Eric Bana is kind of underrated. Like, when he's on, I think he's really, really on. And then I'm trying to remember who played. I'm gonna pull it up right now, but there's another actor in it who kind of appears in like everything, a character actor who I really liked in this movie. So I'm gonna find that out while somebody. Oh, Cate Blanchett's also really good in the movie too. Hang on, where is he? Where is this cast list? I can't find
you're
it.
thinking of.
I'll find it and then
Jason Fleming, maybe.
No, I'm looking at the cast list right now. I'll find it and then I'll let you guys know. But
okay.
Who of you have seen this? Oh,
I have seen it, but
Hollander.
I can't really speak to it.
Tom Hollander. That's what I was thinking of. He's good in the movie. Sorry.
Oh, from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian chiming in.
Yeah, no, I've seen this movie, but it's really been a long time, so I can't really speak too intelligently on it. Although I do remember liking it, and kind of for the same reason as you, in that Saoirse Ronan has kind of been mostly, at the time at least, have been doing certain kinds of roles, and this was just something very different from her, so that was kind of cool to see.
Have either of you two seen it?
Nope.
All right. So then we will move on to Boatman.
For my next pick, since my last one was kind of more of a left field pick, I'll kind of go straight down the middle. And I will pick... Sven's picked the other big Cameron female-led action sequel. I'll do the other. I'll pick Aliens.
Okay, so that's what I was going to do if I didn't say Hannah, so perfect.
Yeah, I think, well, I personally like Alien more in terms of action movie. Aliens is fantastic. Alien is more of a horror movie. Aliens is more in line of Predator, but I find Aliens is better than the original Predator. I think just the supporting cast makes this movie, particularly Bill Paxton, but like I love Lance Henriksen's Bishop and a lot of the other supporting cast. I can't think of his name right now, but the bastard, the dude who like sells out the whole mission. Brian, who am I thinking?
Paul Reiser?
Paul Reiser. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that guy. I love this whole cast. And Ripley is just one of the great like action heroes, period. I think she's fantastic. And I think Aliens is awesome. Get away from her, you bitch. Great movie.
Yeah, I agree with Boatman. I prefer the original, but I think this movie's amazing. This was actually the other than The Passion of the Christ, I believe this was the first R-rated movie I ever saw. And I remember seeing it for the first time because my sister's boyfriend was like babysitting me and my sister with my older sister. So they were babysitting and he was like, listen, you do all your chores, you do this stuff, we'll watch a scary movie. And this was the movie that he put in. Again, now not that scary, but at the time when I was probably 8. There's a scene towards the beginning where she's like in the hospital dreaming, and she's having a dream that the alien is about to come out of her stomach, and the visual effects are so good of seeing it like press up through her stomach, and that like scarred me as a child. So I instantly kind of fell in love with these movies. 3's not that bad. Like, get over it, people. Like, it's not that bad. 4 is a pile of dog shit. But I love Aliens. It's so much fun. It's so much fun from beginning to end. Paul Reiser is great in the movie, and I also love Bishop a lot. And then also in one of my favorite comedies of all time, I get a nice callback to this movie at the end of Ted, when Ted is ripped in half. Oh God, I look like that robot from the end of Aliens. It's fucking great. I love this movie. So great pick, Boatman. Spence and Brian, what about you guys?
I have not seen this. I really want to, but I can never just bring myself to do it. I've seen the original Alien like 3 times, but just I don't know why I've never seen this.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch it.
I love Aliens. I'm one of the people in the camp that prefers Aliens to Alien. I'm not saying it's a better movie because they are 2 very different movies. One's a horror thriller. This one's just an all-out action film. People forget Sigourney Weaver was nominated for an Oscar for this movie. I mean,
was she?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
She does such a great job carrying this movie. This one is one I debated adding to my list because she's clearly the lead of the movie, but she's not really the action heroine until like the very last act. She's kind of behind the Marines for half the movie, and she comes out. I was debating when not to put on my list, so I'm glad somebody else brought it up because I can still talk about it and not waste a spot on mine. But yeah, I love Aliens. It's great action, and she's one of the best parts of it.
All right. So Brian, let's go to you next for your next pick.
I wasn't really thinking of it as a top 10 list, so I got a little more few out.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily a top 10 list.
This is one I think a lot of people might not have thought of. I'm going to count it. I don't care. That is the 1998 animated version of Mulan.
Yeah.
Because Mulan is a kick-ass action star.
I like it.
That's great.
Mulan is a kick-ass action star. I don't care what anybody thinks. The live-action one we're going to pretend doesn't exist, like most of the Disney live-action stuff.
Yep.
But this is Disney. People know, especially with me, that the '90s kind of is the golden age for the Disney movies for me. And Mulan was one of the best. I mean, it had great songs. It had a great story to it. But really, honestly, as far as Disney movies that have action scenes to them, this is one of the best. I mean, you have these epic battles against, with the Huns and all that kind of thing, and it's a lot of fun, but it's got great action to it. And I think this is one of the few movies where most Disney movies have like a female lead to it, like the princess, and they usually get into a little bit of action and have some, do some things of their own. They aren't just damsels in distress. But this is the one where she was actually the action hero. She was kind of in charge of everything, and she was the one kicking ass and teaching the men how to fight and that kind of thing. So I just thought this deserved to be mentioned as a female action hero.
All right. Yeah, we have.
I got another one.
We now also have the video store.
Where's the original video store show? Is it the Prestige?
That's this one. Mulan is amazing. This is a great pick, Brian, that I wouldn't have thought of. But yeah, I love this movie. I loved it as a kid, and then I kind of took some, not on purpose, but I just didn't watch it for a really long time. And it wasn't until I got into this community and started playing Fandom that I rewatched it. And I've kind of fallen in love with the movie all over again. I've seen it 4 or 5 times in the last 2 years. And I think the movie's great. The music is awesome. The action is great. You actually feel the stakes of the movie. All the voice cast is excellent. I mean, how many times have we all just said to defeat the Huns? It's great. So yeah, no, I love it. Great pick. So Boatman and Spence.
This movie fucks. I genuinely
Stop saying that. Stop it. You're not going to be welcome back.
All right. I forgot how good this movie was. It was like it's fine. It's one of the worst Disney Renaissance movies. Then I rewatched it, and it's so good. I think it belongs in this list not just because it's a really good movie, but the action is the action in it is really good. And Mulan is such a smart character with how you see her defeating the Huns and how every decision she makes is smarter than what the other soldiers would have done because she tries to find creative solutions. And even Li Shang, I forget how to say it, is like this great like romantic interest who also doesn't drive her journey. Like this is so different than what Disney was doing at the time, and even really sort of since then, other than Moana. And I think it's just brilliant.
Okay, Boatman, did you talk on this already, or am I crazy?
I don't think I did. Mulan, I think, is just a very fun movie. I think that just in terms of the Mulan, like she's technically not a Disney princess, even though she's in like the Disney princess canon, and I think she is like, if we are counting her among those, she's like top tier. I think the songs, even though there aren't a lot of songs in the movie, all of them are great. Particularly I'll Make a Man Out of You, but also I really like Honor to Us All. The only thing I would maybe put against this movie is I think the actual action in the movie, in terms of like animated action, is not like top tier. You look at like other movies that would come later, like Kung Fu Panda, like that's fantastic animated action. Whereas I think the action in this movie is just okay.
All right. Spence, we move on to your next pick.
All right. So I did the big, now I'm going the obscure. It's one of my go-to recommendations for action films, period. It's one I actually recommended to Mike Hanley, and he said it's a good fucking movie. And
to be clear, Mike
watched
Hanley, not Nazario Montenegro.
Right.
Okay, great.
Scott Harvey as well heard my suggestion, watched it, and he also really loved it. I'm going this small 2017 film called Revenge.
That was on my list.
Hell yeah, Brian! It's I have a different like little movie group that I talk with all the time. When this came out, they're like, "You gotta watch this. This is amazing." And I stole someone's Shudder account and watched it, and it blew me away. I think I plugged it on one of the other wirelesses or something else, but like Coralie Farraget, the director, just had like this really strong like immediate vision, and she creates one of the most stylistic and stunning films of the 2010s. Not even just with an action, just period. And it's really hard to get through. Boatman, you would hate this movie. Tim, you might like it, but Boatman, you'd hate this. And it's just brutal. And the whole thing's a revenge thriller. And seeing what she does and how she gets revenge. And this, again, I think this movie is driven not only by its actors, whose name we're forgetting, but the director just tells one of the most compelling revenge stories I've ever seen.
I haven't seen this, but I've heard of it, and I know what it's about. I would like to watch it. It's one that's been in my watch list for a while. Boatman, you haven't seen this?
No, and from what Sven says, probably not gonna.
Brian?
Yeah, no, I saw it when it very first came out. I don't remember even why I saw it. I think I just heard some good things about it, so I checked it out, and it very easily could have been just like this, tasteless kind of revenge thriller for spectacle, like I Spit on Your Grave or something like that. But it's not. I mean, this is a movie that it gets to tell her revenge story, but it's also kind of told in a very 2010s kind of way. It's got like this, kind of like a lot of other movies came out at the same time, like The Guest and this and some of those. It has like this kind of, I don't know, neo-noir kind of feel to it, but at the same time, it's just brutal. I think the neo kind of thing comes a lot from the soundtrack. It's got a cool score to it. But it's been a while since I saw this, but I had it on my short list of ones to consider because I remember really liking it and really enjoying it. Enjoying it. I don't know if you can enjoy it, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fucking funny. Okay. Oh man. All right, Brian, we're gonna give you a third pick since we only have 4 tonight. So what is your third pick, Brian?
For my third pick, I decided I was going to go real obscure again. It's a movie called Everly. This is a movie that stars Salma Hayek, who has done her share of action. She's been in Desperado movies. She's been Wild Wild West and Hitman's Bodyguard and things like that. But this is the one where she gets to finally be like lead character, just the sole lead of the movie. It's directed Joe Lynch, who did Knights of Badassdom, Mayhem, which was with Samara Weaving and Steven Yeun from Walking Dead. But basically, she plays this character who basically was taken by this Japanese guy and held as like essentially a sex slave. This is all before the movie happened. But
I'm sorry, what was the name of it again? I'm sorry.
Everly, Everly.
Everly, okay.
Everly. At the beginning of the movie, basically, you see her being thrown into this apartment where, because she has betrayed this guy. She's been captured, and they're keeping her in this apartment until he comes to, take care of her, probably kill her. But she has a mom and a kid she's trying to protect elsewhere. But the whole movie is kind of an like the Raid and Dread, where it's like, them trying to basically get up this building, the apartment building, to get to the top. This is kind of the anti-version of that, because it's just her in this apartment fighting off people. There's these Yakuza type people coming at her. There's dirty police coming at her. There's these female assassins coming at her with everything from guns to grenades to ninja size to tasers to dogs. It's just got lots of cool action to it. It's done in kind of a very brutal way to it. There's one scene about halfway through where this character calls in and captures her, he's just known as the sadist, where he like captures her and he's gonna like torture her with like acid and shit like that. And it's just like a really dark kind of moment. But that's the thing about this movie. While it is action packed and dark and gruesome and gory and violent, it also has like a dark humor to it. Like it takes place at Christmas time, apparently, vaguely, because there's like Christmas carols playing through half the movie. So I don't know, maybe it can count as a Christmas movie from now on. I don't know, maybe. But it's got kind of this dark humor edge to it. But it's just a good movie. It's a very simple movie. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of plot except they're trying to kill her and she's fighting them off. But it's just, she gets to just be the action star for once instead of just the sidekick.
Yeah, no, never heard of this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody's heard of it.
Sounds interesting, so I'm into it. I'll watch it. Anybody else?
Never even heard of it.
All right. Spence, you get one more pick.
I wish I had something obscure. I'm just going to end mainstream. I'm hoping we can make the panel happy with us. I'm going to pick maybe like my third favorite fandom film. I know Tim agrees with me on this movie. I think like, well, it sort of has the same issue as like my first pick. I think it creates one of the best female protagonists we've seen in a long time. And I really love her, where her journey went through two films, but the one doesn't matter. I'm going with Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. My favorite Star Wars film, Rey, also my favorite Star Wars protagonist. I just love this film to bits. It's one of the. I think I've said this a lot before. I'm not huge on rewatching films. I watched this like 4 times in a month when it first came out, and each time it just felt new and special. And I cannot I don't understand the backlash where people don't like where the sequels went. I think this and Last Jedi are incredible and give Rey an amazing journey. I think Last Jedi isn't as focused on her, which is why I picked this, but also this, you can't go wrong. Force Awakens is fucking awesome.
Yeah, you're right. I do agree with you. It is not my favorite Star Wars movie, but it is my second favorite Star Wars movie. And I had to come to terms with that recently because for the longest time I would tell myself that, I liked all 3 of the originals more. And when it comes down to it, it's not true. I love this movie. I don't mean to be that guy. So I know this is going to sound douchey and stupid. I don't mean it to, but to Spence's point of watching it 4 times in a month, I saw this movie 7 times in a weekend when it was released. I love this movie. I saw this movie, I think, 12 times in the theater overall. And yeah, granted, I shouldn't say weekend. I should say in 5 days because I got to see it early and then over the course of the weekend, I saw it every day, and on one day, I saw it a couple times. So, I love this movie to pieces. I saw it in IMAX. I saw it in 3D. I saw it in 4D. Maggie and I went to a 4D theater and saw this in Chicago at Gurney Mills. I think this is my most rewatched movie of all time. In the 6 years that it's been out, I've seen it over 30 times, I think. I absolutely love this movie. The day it came out on Blu-ray, I watched it twice. So I love this movie to pieces. I just love all the characters so much. Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character. Even with Rise of Skywalker in there, I think his arc is pretty perfect. Granted, again, I don't love Rise of Skywalker, and I don't even love Last Jedi. I like it, but I don't love it. But that all being said, nothing can take away my love of the first movie. There are plenty of movies or trilogies where there are chapters in there that I don't like. Am I upset that it ended on a low note? Yes. Do I wish it had ended on a higher note? Absolutely. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I will never forget watching that movie in the theater with Maggie, who had never seen a Star Wars movie in the theater either, and us just falling in love with all the characters. Maggie literally left the theater and went to, I don't remember what store it was, but GameStop, and she got a BB-8 lanyard that she still has on her keys to this day. So it's just one of those special moments in movies for me. I love this movie. And most recently, I actually got to see it in the theater last summer, around a year ago. Me, Cody, TWOHIG, and Maggie were in Kansas City, and we saw this in the theater because they were playing it, and it was a lot of fun for me. I don't know about the other three, but I had a great time. I love this movie. So what about Brian and Boatman?
I like this one. I'm not as big on it as like some people, but I think it's good. I think it's like solid Star Wars movies. I'm just not that big of a Star Wars guy. I kind of realized that recently. Like I was, oh yeah, I love Star Wars. It's Star Wars, and I'm just kind of realizing I don't actually think I love Star Wars. And I think that if you look at the Star Wars movies I do like, they're the less Star Warsy movies. So yeah.
Yeah, no, as the guy here who's seen every Star Wars movie in the theater, I've been a huge Star Wars fan since I was a kid. The original trilogy obviously held for the longest time. If you ever asked me, those were my top 3 movies of all time. They were untouchable. And then I expanded my, viewing a little bit. But then when this one came out, I was really looking forward to it. So I was ready to be disappointed again, thanks to the prequels. But I had, cautiously optimistic. I went and saw this, and I loved it. And even my wife, because my whole family went to opening night of it, and even my wife, who never goes to movies, she really loved it. It obviously has tons of parallels to the original Star Wars, yes, but we didn't mind that. This is just kind of a new story with new characters, and yes, it's going to have a lot of those same beats. But, I loved it. I love the characters. I think Rey was a great character. Like you, I didn't really enjoy the rest of the trilogy as much. I think it did end on a low note, but I think that is because 2 fucked it up so much. But I'm not going to get into that debate as to why Rise of Skywalker sucked. Because I don't think it sucked. I enjoyed it. But anyway. But the first one, Force Awakens, is definitely the best of the new trilogy. And I watched this. It had to have been at least 5 times in the first few days. So.
Okay, Real Video Store shill is TWOHIG again. Busted or Kirk. Okay. All right. So that does it for our list. So not a bad list. I like it. I like it a lot. We are just flying along tonight. These 4-person panels, they go a little faster. Okay. So now what we are going to do. Oh, sorry. Go over to the Letterboxd. Multiplex logged it. Like the list. It's been posted. And follow the page if you haven't already. And also, while we're talking about it and taking a break before we get into the movie of the month, because we have a new movie of the month. Reminders. We're on Twitch, obviously. You're watching us over here. This video will get posted to YouTube Wednesday morning. Your List Sucks tomorrow night will also be live here on Twitch. That will get posted to YouTube on Thursday morning. And then Miscellaneous and 2X Trivia Night will be on Mondays again. 2X Trivia Night, I think, is coming back in August. I think. Don't quote me on that. It's coming back in August, I think. Video Store Show could tell us, I guess. But when those shows air, they will be on Twitch as well and will be posted on... I'm sorry. I had those days wrong. 2 days later. 2 days later. That's when they come out. So Monday's shows will come out on Wednesday. This show will come out on Thursday. Your List Sucks will come out on Friday over on YouTube. We have links to the YouTube, the Facebook, and all that stuff. If you're new in the chat and you haven't seen us before, we have links over there to our TeePublic store, the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, and a donations tab as well, if you feel so inclined to, for some reason, give us money. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to move on to the final portion of the show, the movie of the month. So you guys voted. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I'm sick of being harassed about movies that I like and being shit on. I don't give a fuck. Catch Me If You Can is the movie. You guys voted for it. It's the movie of the month for July. I rewatched it today, and it still is great. I love this movie so much. I think this is my favorite Spielberg movie. I'm sorry, Brian. You can shit on me all you want in a second. I genuinely love this story and the performances. I remember the first time I saw this, I stumbled upon it when I was 14 or 15. I was babysitting my niece, and my sister owned it on DVD, and I just popped it in after my niece went to sleep, and I watched it, and I fucking fell in love with it. This is a once-a-year movie for me. I've watched it once a year since. I love it. I think Tom Hanks is great. Leo is great. Christopher Walken is excellent in this movie. I think my favorite performance I've seen of him. Granted, haven't seen a ton of Christopher Walken.
You haven't seen The Deer Hunter.
I have seen The Deer Hunter, but I've only seen it once. So, and I remember being very sleepy by the end. So I need to rewatch that movie. Martin Sheen, good in his. Amy Adams, I remember this was one of the first things I ever saw Amy Adams in. There's a lot of great side people that I'm oh, I always forget you're in this movie. Jennifer Gardner shows up for a scene. Always forget she's in this. What is the Grey's Anatomy girl? Ellen Pompeo? Yeah, she shows up for a scene. I love the chase. I love the Tom Hanks just chasing after. There's nerdy stuff that I enjoy, he goes by Barry Allen for a really long time, and then when he realizes he can't use Barry Allen, he goes by Dr. Connors, which is a Spider-Man villain. Then that's the Lizard. So it's he just I think it's a lot of fun, and there's so many good emotional beats too with the fun. Spoiler alert, because we're going to be talking about the movie a lot for over the next month, but I love the relationship between Tom Hanks and Frank, and when they're on the plane going home towards the end of the movie after he picked him up in the prison, and he has to tell him about his dad's death and that whole reaction, it's so powerful. I think the movie just works and fires on all cylinders. Don't get me wrong, I love my Jaws, I love my Raiders, but I feel something else for this movie. I really, really love it. So I give this movie a 5-star rating. Love this one. Brian, we'll go to you next. What are your thoughts on Catch Me If You Can?
So full disclosure, I know we're supposed to watch the movies fresh for the show. We found out the winner of this poll yesterday. And
I think we're going to have you on next week for the sequels that came 10 plus years. So if you want to wait and talk about it next week, you can do that.
Yeah, if you're going to have me on again, then yeah, I probably will wait. Because like I said, I had lots of real life responsibilities and other things I had to watch for a match coming up and stuff. So if you're going to have me on again, then yeah, we'll withhold my thoughts.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I can give it a fresh watch.
Give it a fresh watch, and then we'll get your thoughts next week when we have you on again. So Boatman, your thoughts.
This is my favorite Spielberg. I'm with Tim on this. I love this movie so much. This might have been the first. The Hook was the first Spielberg movie I ever watched, but this was the first Spielberg movie I watched with an awareness of who Steven Spielberg actually was. And I love this movie. I love con artist movies in general. It's one of my favorite subgenres. And I love it. I'm with him. I love the dynamic between Carl and Frank. But underrated performance in this is Martin Sheen. He's in 2-3 scenes of this movie, and he is great. But Christopher Walken steals every scene he's in. Obviously, everyone talks about the 2 mice scene, but I love the dinner conversation with him and DiCaprio, where they're at the fancy restaurant. And he clearly feels a little intimidated by his son's newfound success. and he just breaks down crying about his wife. And then you get the final line, "Where you going, Frank? Someplace exotic." I quote that just randomly whenever anyone is leaving. "Where you going, Frank? Someplace exotic." I love this movie so much.
And what would you give it?
5 stars. Easily.
5 stars. All right. Spence.
Boatman took the only talking point I was so excited to talk about because I fucking love the dinner scene. But also everyone wants to take a shot for Boatman doing a fucking walk-in impression. You'll get the rest of the month. This movie's amazing. It's my favorite Spielberg. That is almost without question. I love a few of them, but this one is just incredible. Brian, I'm a child. Come on. I think I share opinion with a lot of you guys. Like, I do love the nerdy stuff, and I think there's a lot of like supportive performances. I was also gonna shout like I didn't realize James Brolin was his mom's was like his stepdad, and we just thought I'm like holy shit. But this I think this movie it doesn't feel very Spielberg. I don't really connect with a lot of his films like emotionally, but I think part of it is just I really saw DiCaprio as this kid. As I think I first watched it when I was like 16, 17, around his age. Like being beyond that, and I get to see how young he is, and just realizing how all of this is just like partially just to get attention and to get away from home, and all the pain that goes on that what I've been seeing in the character. DiCaprio plays it all amazingly, and then like this father figure he sees in Hanratty is just. It is so. It really should. Like it's again. I'm shocked that Spielberg did this when I connect so little with his other films, but I'm so happy that I got to rewatch this. I've been meaning to, and this gave me an excuse, and I'm happy I got it. I gave it 4.5 because I have attention issues, but that's not an indication of the quality. I just have a hard time watching anything over the 2 hours.
That's fair. All right, so that's gonna do it, guys. We did it. We did a thing. We did the show very quickly, which is great. Saves me a lot of time tonight because we have more shit to do. So I want to thank Kaleb and Brian and Spence for being here. One more reminder, we're going to be here from now on with the live shows. You'll get the replays over on YouTube after about 48 hours. Well, more like 36, but you'll get those replays there. And then you'll get the, if you listen to the podcast network, you'll get those after 24 hours as well. But thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of the video store shills because there's a lot of them. Also, guys, thank you to the people who came and followed the channel because we set a goal and we got there. We got 51. I don't know what it's at now, if it's updated since we've started. But we got people to come and follow. It's at 51 right now. If you haven't followed the channel yet, if you're new, please follow the channel. Go over to the YouTube channel. Follow that. So you can see all the trivia stuff that we're doing over on the channel with movie Warzone, Fandom Fights, and debate as well, TV. So all that stuff over there. And thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night with Yola Sucks here with Cody at the hosting desk. What is the topic? Is it the Oscars? It's the Oscars.
Yeah, it's Oscars best of each category represented.
Yes, so that's tomorrow night. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening,